Hello, hello, hello. I am so glad that you're here because today we are talking about some lessons in quantum leaps. If we're just meeting for the first time, my name is Jen Casey. I'm a business strategy and master mindset coach, and I help online coaches who want to take their brilliant ideas and turn them into profitable group coaching programs. So I walk people through how to build, sell, and effectively run them. And one of the things that I've really been stepping into recently is speaking at events. And I love this. Recently, over the last couple of weeks, some of you guys saw some of this going on. We did an amazing 3-part video series training all about building and creating profitable programs. We had our very first live mastermind here in New York City, and that absolutely blew everyone's minds, like myself included. And I also spoke at my mentor, James Wedmore's Business by Design Live, and that was incredible. Like, it's just been an insane 3 weeks of quantum leaps. And so from this experience, over the last couple of weeks, there's been so much for me personally to process and integrate, so many lessons, so many new realizations, so many new layers to my identity, new beliefs that I've been taking on. And so I wanted to share some of that with you today and kind of let you guys in the behind the scenes of my thought process, particularly in relation to the quantum leaps within speaking. Also, BT Dubs, so yes, recently we closed enrollment for programs that profit, and we are now taking applications for those people who are interested, those online coaches who are like, I'm here, Jen, I'm ready to up level. Those individuals who are interested in either our high-level group coaching program, where we essentially walk through all of the foundational pieces of really building your audience, defining your niche, nailing down that messaging. We go through creating your course, your program, your group coaching program, how to build it, how to structure all the lessons, all of that stuff, all into how to launch it, how to set up the systems, how to crush it on sales calls, So all of that fun stuff. And we also have our mastermind. So that is for individuals who are making substantial money in their business already, who are interested in being in an environment where they could hang with people in person. Because after this weekend, I know so many of the ladies who were there were just blown away by the impact of being in person with an actual community, actual living, breathing people that you've met on the interwebs that you now get to talk to and connect with. So if you guys are interested in that, I will link that up after this live, but you can go to heyjencasey.com/mm, so Magnetic Mastermind -apply, or you could go to heyjencasey.com/accelerator-apply and fill out those applications. You and I will get, yes, you get to talk to me. We'll get on a discovery call and just really learn more about you, your business, your goals, and what you're looking for and what you're looking to create in 2020 to see if it's a good fit. We will link that up for you in the show notes. So today we're going to talk a little bit about quantum leaps. So the first area where I saw this kind of coming up is after I spoke at Business by Design Live, James Wedmore's event. I had people coming up to me and saying lovely, wonderful things. And it was one of the things was, you're a natural. You're a natural. And the reason I wanted to speak about this in relation to quantum leaps is because when it comes to things like speaking and performing and being world-class, being at the top of your game, or even just being at a high level of mastery in anything that you do, it's so easy to look from the outside and just go, well, that person's a natural. Because the reality is, you're seeing the 10%, maybe even less than that. You're seeing the 10% on social media, the 10% when someone's on stage, and you're not seeing the 90%. All of the work, all of the preparation, all of the hours, all of the financial investments that went into that person getting to that place in that moment, right? They're not seeing, and we often do that, right? We look at somebody that we admire and go, oh, it must be easy for them. They're a natural. And not only does that discredit the work that they've done, but it also separates you from achieving that as well. Because when we hold on to a belief that it's something that's innate in someone versus something that can be cultivated, it suddenly becomes something that we can't reach, something we can't achieve. And I call complete and total BS on that. Okay, so for those of you guys, I mean, you've probably said that. You see somebody, oh, they're natural, oh, it's easy for them, oh, they already have the big following, oh, she's just pretty, so her Instagram pictures are great, oh, she's so confident on video, right? We say all these things, but the reality is there's work that goes into the behind the scenes. So at the event, I had a lot of people coming up to me and asking me, how long have you been speaking, and when did you get trained, and where did you get trained, and how did you get trained? And my response was, which is like the unsexy truth, I'm like, I've been training for this for the last 20 years. And what I mean by that, and let's even say the last 15. So I did musical theater my entire life. I dedicated myself to learning and studying and being uncomfortable on stage, singing, dancing, acting, the whole thing. And even when I was, in late high school into college, I was going to weekly voice lessons when I literally had no money. I was a broke college student, bartending, commuting 10 hours a week to go to Queens College from Long Island, and working late nights. Sometimes I wouldn't get home from a shift until 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd have to be up at 6, go to school, commute for an hour, sit in traffic, come home, rush home to work, and then the days where I didn't work, I'd squeeze in a voice lesson for $50, which was like a decent chunk of my paycheck, my tips. But for me, it was a non-negotiable. For me, it was a no-brainer. And when people said, oh, you're a natural, I'm like, I'm a natural, but it's years and years of work. I ended up going to audition workshops that I spent thousands of dollars on. I would pull double shifts to be able to invest in those things, be at work, bartending and waitressing, and going up to people saying, hey, do you want to leave early? Do you want to get cut? I can stay for you. I'll take over your section. Hey, you want to give up your Wednesday morning? You're probably not going to make money. And I'm like, I would want to be the only one there so I could try to maximize. I was doing all of these strategic things, and I actually forgot about this until people started asking me, how long have you been speaking? And I realized that not only how long I've been doing this type of work, but actually how even before entrepreneurship, I was aggressively investing in myself and in my personal growth. And that's just become something that is a no-brainer for me. What people also weren't seeing, the 90% behind the scenes, is that when I used to go into auditions in Manhattan, the delightful cattle calls, I would have full-blown panic attacks, like anxiety attacks the night before into that morning, where I would have a fight or flight response in my body and have to run to the bathroom. It was not fun. And then, of course, that gave me even more anxiety because it was like, well, what if I don't make it to the audition because I'm stuck in the bathroom? And like, I'm sharing this. This is the unsexy side of it, guys, right? Like maybe a little TMI for some of you, but the truth is there's been some shit that I've had to work through. I ended up doing acting conservatory training for an entire year at Stella Adler Studio of Acting. And that was actually when I started growing my business, because my online business way back when, doing network marketing, because I wasn't able to work in a restaurant with the timing of getting on the trains and stuff. So I was investing then. I was showing up then. I was doing uncomfortable things then. And I remember being in that conservatory training after the first semester. They gave us feedback on how well we did. And I really don't know how they did any kind of letter grading for that process. It didn't really make sense. But I remember the primary feedback that I got was, you need to stop treating this like it's school. And I remember thinking, what? What do you mean? That doesn't make any sense. I am showing up. I'm doing exactly what you tell me. I'm doing the homework. I'm coming in with my lines learned. I'm taking a risk. I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. What do you mean? And it didn't make sense to me then, but that was the greatest foundation for entrepreneurship that I could have ever asked for. because that was the beginning of me starting to think outside the box, to stop thinking like an employee and a student, and to start thinking like a creative being, like a visionary, like somebody who's going to create something that's never been created or thought of before. And I'm grateful for that, even though I was so pissed when they said that to me. I'm like, how dare you? I'm perfect, right? Like, I'm doing everything you want me to do. I should get A+ all around, right? That's the quote unquote good student in me. Had to unlearn that and so many other things. And as I was thinking about this more, I'm like, wow, last week I was speaking on this stage and I was just looking back at some of the previous years. I'm like, where was I back in 2007? Well, I was in my first year of college, about to drop out, wondering if I just wasn't meant for whatever. I remember Facebook was kind of new then, 2007, and I remember looking at other people who were in college and, posting their fun pictures of frat parties and going out and Halloween, and I just felt so separate from that. I just didn't understand that. It didn't seem fun to me. I didn't feel like I didn't feel drawn to that culture, but I also felt like rejected from it. Like there was some, like, what's wrong with me that I can't have fun doing those things? So I was going through all the feels, y'all. Like I was going through it. In 2012, I looked at my Facebook time hop and I was bartending. I was bartending every night. And then 2014, that was when things really took a positive turn and I started doing entrepreneurship more seriously. And, well, I fell and broke my leg around this time, 2014. And I had torn up all these ligaments, broke my leg. And that was really a moment for me where I couldn't move, I couldn't go anywhere. So I just sat for 3 months and grinded, like heavily grinded in my business and learned everything that I could. And I remember I was really like hell-bent on getting this cast off my leg because I had signed up to go to this event in Texas. And I remember saying to my doctor, like, when this is coming off, right? It's going to be, and I really thought this cast was going to come off. I was going to be up and walking and perfect and fine. And when it came off and I couldn't put any weight on it for another 2 months, I was devastated, but still very determined to go. So I went to this event and I remember seeing this guy, Bo Eason, speak, and he was an NFL athlete. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a fitness coach. Like, I resonate with this guy. He had been on Broadway. He wrote and produced his own show, his one-man show. I was like, oh my God, that was my past. And now he was speaking on stages at these events and had created this third epic world-class level career for himself. And he just inspired me so much. I saw so much of myself in what he was creating. And I remember sitting there going, I'm going to speak. And so I was in a wheelchair at the time and I was like, hey friends, roll me to the back. I need to go sign up for this guy's program. And I thought it was $1,000. It was actually $2,000. It was a live event. It was in, I believe, San Diego. And I remember them rolling me away like, cool, Jen, like that's good for you. You're investing in yourself. And I was like, well, it's $1,000. I have $3,000 in my bank account, so that should be good. And they were like, oh, no, that was $2,000. It's like, no. What do you mean? But I didn't cancel it, and I went. And it was a really great experience for me to be at an event that wasn't a network marketing event. It opened up so much for me. And 2015, I was still growing my network marketing stuff, doing my health and fitness coaching, teaching group fitness classes. 2016, I'd already transitioned into business coaching and had some 6-figure launches with a coaching program for business for health coaches. 2017, I was in LA at Vid Summit. The following month, I was at BBD in Irvine, California. Then I was at Date with Destiny in Florida. Like, I was investing heavily. I had just actually split with a business partner at that point. Last year, I was at Master Practitioner Training 2018. And then this year, I had a launch, a mastermind, and I was on stage. And it's like, it's so interesting when we can reflect and look back and say, where was I this time last year? Where was I this time 4 years ago, 5 years ago? And hopefully you'll start to see how much you've experienced, how much you've grown, how much you've changed, how much you've up-leveled. Because just in sitting down and looking at my time hop, looking at where I was a couple of years ago, like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long. And then I get excited because I'm like, well, what's possible in the next 5, 10, 15 years? What's possible for you? And so when I was really sitting back with this, like this whole idea of you're a natural, the reality is, or the reality that I see now, is that quantum leaps happen when that opportunity comes in contact with all the preparation that you've done. When that opportunity comes in contact and crosses paths with all of that preparation that you've done. So whatever it is that you are wanting to move towards, the more that you show up for it and do that 90% behind the scenes that no one is going to see right now, that's when you're going to be able to step up, step out, do that 10%. People are going to be like, where did this chick come from? Who dat? Right? They're going to go in your course, be like, this is the best course I've ever seen. They're going to watch you on stage, be like, holy crap, where'd you learn how to speak? Or whatever it is that you do or teach. So the first thing was the whole idea of like, you're natural. The second thing that I was hearing, even my aunt said this to me. She's like, well, you're just so confident. And I love my aunt to death, and she is a jazz singer and also a therapist and is incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly brilliant. And the idea of speaking on stage, it is for most people, it is the number one fear that people have. And so it's really easy to look at somebody who's comfortable on stage and say, oh, well, they're just confident, by which you imply that you don't have confidence, by which you imply that it is something outside of you that you have not achieved or that you cannot achieve. And so to me, confidence, I used to think as a kid that that was something that you were just born with. And I spent many years going, well, I'm just not confident, therefore I can't show up. Therefore, I can't do X, Y, and Z. Instead, I've realized since that confidence is both a habit and a decision. Confidence is a habit and a decision. It's a habit because the only way to get confidence is to sort of fake it until you make it with the intention of actually doing the inner work to feel confident. Like fake confidence, we can smell that from a mile away. That doesn't last. But I also say confidence is a decision because you've got to decide that you are confident. Step into that identity now. Start rewiring those beliefs around confidence and just even shifting the idea that confidence is a habit and not something you're born with. That alone can be revolutionary for you right now in this moment. And so for me, I was able to build my confidence, because it's a habit, through, especially looking through the lens of speaking on stage or speaking on video, I was able to do that through practice and preparation and rehearsal, putting in the hours. And I will say, over time, like in the beginning stages, I had to put in more hours in order to get a result. Even when I used to teach group fitness classes, in order for me to learn a class, it would take a really long time. And then after I learned the 4th and the 5th and the 6th class, I started to pick things up more quickly. So I didn't have to spend as many hours working behind the scenes because the work was already compounding. All of the work that I had done was already building out. So just know that the work you've already put in, no matter what area of expertise, because you've shown up for it, it's all compounding. It's all happening for you. It's all building towards your great moment, right? So it's practice, it's rehearsal, it's putting in the hours. And then, when my aunt said, oh, well, you're just confident, I said, do you know what upped my confidence? When I was asked and I said yes, like immediately yes, without thinking about it. Like, hey, will you come speak on stage? I was like, yes, 100%, I'm in. And I didn't know how, I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know if I would use slides or not. I didn't know what it was going to look like, and it didn't matter because I said yes. And as soon as I said yes, I was forced, or it was easy, it didn't feel forced, but I was forced then to up level and have that quantum leap. Confidence becomes a habit for me because I also visualized my outcome. I thought carefully about not necessarily how I would move on stage, but what would happen if I was successful in that endeavor? What would happen after? And I thought, well, I will probably talk to people. People will probably come up to me and say, I really enjoyed this. And I will probably feel good in my body and feel comfortable on stage. And so I had all of these specific things that I was able to visualize and think about in advance. So I was rehearsing my own success, right? I don't know if you guys do that. Most of us, unfortunately, only rehearse tragedy and the drama, but I invite you to start rehearsing some of the positive outcomes that you want, because you're already a powerful visualizer. You might just be unconsciously visualizing. And I also got more confident by actually doing the damn thing, like by walking my butt up on stage and opening my mouth. So I was talking to my aunt and I was like, she's like, you're so confident, blah, blah, blah. I said I was more confident after I walked off stage because I knew that I had done it. I was like, well, great, check mark. So it's like, in order to build confidence, you have to start doing the uncomfortable stuff. You're not going to be perfect right out the gate. The first time I stood on stage and I sang, I was terrible. I was awkward. I was uncomfortable. I wasn't in my body. It was probably really cringy for the audience. Even if I had a nice voice, when somebody's on stage and they're uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable. But you know what? You got to work through that stuff. You got to work through it. I will say too, getting on stage, being confident, I think you can feel more comfortable, more present, more in your body when you stop freaking thinking about yourself. If you're worried about what other people think of you and what your body looks like and what your hand is doing, and did I say that fast? I don't know, whatever inner dialogue, are people liking this? If you're thinking about those things, you immediately lose connection to your audience. The way to stay present, or the way to stay connected to your audience, is to stay present, to continue to have a conversation with those individuals. And so when I was on stage, that was my intention, and that's always my intention. You know, whether I'm performing, something in theater, you're not necessarily addressing the audience, but you are addressing your scene partner. And the more present you can become with that person that you're speaking to, the more real, the more resonant it becomes, because you react in the moment to whatever information you're being given. It's authentic. So you've got to get to a place where you get out of your own way, stop thinking about yourself, stop thinking about what do people think of me, and start thinking about questions like, how can I serve? How can I connect more? Ask those questions, right? I remember on my very first day of conservatory training, acting conservatory training, they said to us, you think you came here to learn how to act, but what you actually came here to learn is to learn how to get out of your own way. And I don't think any of us fully understood what that meant. We understood it consciously, like logically. You can analyze like, okay. But I understand it now on a much deeper level. Yeah, I wasn't, with everything, with entrepreneurship, whether you're getting on video, whatever it is you're doing, we are all learning how to get out of our own way. And what that means is all the bullshit you've taken on, all of the nonsense beliefs, all of the nonsense identities, all of the conformities that you think are true, the goal is to unlearn all of the BS so that you can get back to your pure state, the way that you came into the world as a little baby. Joyful, present, with an intuition to just connect, to read energy, to look into somebody's eyes and really see them. Like that right there, to me, like that's the goal. That's the goal, to come back to that place. And so when people see someone as being confident, who are truly confident, not loud and crass and whatever, people who are present in their own body, what they're seeing is somebody who has let go of all the BS and is just comfortable being them. Because the more comfortable you are in your own skin, in your own body, the more comfortable you make others feel. If you're in your own head judging yourself, they're creating an inner dialogue about what's happening with her. Why is she looking that way? She looks mad. Maybe she's mad at me. But when you're just present with someone, they can feel that from your energy. So the result here, when you start creating confidence as a habit and a decision, you put everyone else at ease. And do you understand the level of magnetism, the level of attraction of that vibration that you will be able to create in your life and your business? Like, it's unreal. It's next level stuff. And then the third thing that I was hearing a bit, so the first one was like, you're a natural, you're so confident. And the third thing was, you're a great storyteller. Now, these were all lovely compliments. And I like to challenge that Because here's the thing, when people say them, yes, they are a compliment, but there's also a part of them, for many of the people that I spoke to, that they were like, how do you do that, right? That somehow they don't have those tools or those skill sets already inside of them, and that's really what I want to debunk for you. The whole idea of like, you're a great storyteller. I think my stories resonated because I told the truth. Because I unpacked the things that we're all thinking that no one says out loud, like all the embarrassing shit. I told a story about how I first met my mentor, James Wedmore, and I saw him at an event, and I was having this whole inner dialogue of like, do I go talk to him? Do I not? Oh my God, what's he gonna think? And how I didn't march over and talk to him right away. Instead, I called a friend, FaceTimed them, held up my phone, was like, he's over there. He's behind me. What should I do? She was like, go talk to him. Duh. So in sharing that with the audience, they were like, oh my gosh, you're human. You're quirky. You do weird shit too. I've done that stuff. If you're on stage and you've done weird stuff and have these weird inner monologues of imposter syndrome, then I guess you and I are similar, which means you're not on some pedestal, which means you're not above me, which means we're in this together. So when you're telling a story, you're able to allow the audience into your little weird world, and they're also hearing and listening for areas of connection, areas where they can go, oh, that's me. Oh, that's my brother. Oh, that's my sister. And when you can do that, you, as a leader, you kind of disarm people. One of the biggest, coolest things that happened from that experience was that, I had shared some stories about my quirky awkwardness about going up and saying hello to people and asking for a selfie and all the things. And people started coming up to me at the end of the event and saying, I wouldn't normally have come up and said anything to you, but because you shared that story, one of the action steps that you asked us to write down was that I wanted to come talk to you because it made me uncomfortable. And it was something that I knew I needed to do. And so I'm pulling a quote unquote Jen Casey by now coming up and talking to you. Now that was really freaking wild for me because in no world is my name synonymous with going up to a stranger, saying hello to them and asking for a selfie. In no world, in no part of my imagination would that ever be true. And yet, that was the exact result of what happened. And it was amazing, and people were able to see that, hey, Jen's an introvert. Jen's an INTJ on the Myers-Briggs, and she can figure this out. So that means I can do this too. I can't tell you how many people were like, you're an INTJ? Oh my gosh, I guess that means I can speak on stage. I guess that means I can be confident on camera. And it was just really freaking cool to be able to see that, to be able to hear that from people and essentially see the box that they'd created for themselves, this rule that they had created for themselves about them being shy or them being introverted, and that somehow meant that they couldn't do certain things. It was amazing to see that essentially crumbled for them. It crumbled for them because they were like, if you're that, and so were these other speakers, then it must not be true. Then it must be possible for me as well. And guess what? That's exactly what you do for your audience too. By you showing up unapologetically, authentically as yourself, you are unknowingly, oftentimes, giving other people permission to show up in the way that they have wanted to show up, but they weren't sure. And the more you share and it's not like dramatic or upsetting stuff, it's just like quirky stuff. Share the quirky stuff, share the embarrassing stuff, quote unquote embarrassing. I don't find that I don't embarrass very easily anymore. That used to be like the big thing for me. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I don't embarrass easily anymore because I just share it openly and people relate to it. And I realized, oh wait, there's no reason to hide this stuff or be embarrassed by it because everyone deals with the same shit. We're all human. So like take people off a pedestal, show up as you 100%, believe in your freaking self, and start doing the stuff that you've been wanting to do, that have been on your to-do list, that have been on your dream board for the last 2, 3, 5 years. And start doing them because somebody is waiting. Somebody needs to hear what you have to say right now. So that is what I have for you guys today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Mwah.